What up, guys? So I'm walking to the mall right now to meet up my kids, and I want to share real quick, just a little bit while I have time right now. So one thing that I started to experience a long time ago that really helped me, at least it was a good starting point, was to start getting rid of things that comforted me for like some amount of time. So for example, food was a huge thing. So obviously I didn't get rid of food, but I changed the food. And the significance of a diet, as far as I've experienced, it's not so much to lose weight or to get healthy, although those are awesome parts of it. But the significance of going on a healthy diet is that you don't allow the food to comfort you anymore. So it's very obvious that we use food to comfort ourselves throughout the day. That's kind of like a part of our day that's nice. So other things that I have experienced using and that I see being used often are things like smoking and drinking, and then also there's also other things, like they get a little bit more into detail, but like an attitude, or like a way of being, or a way of dressing, like the clothes you wear, etc. There's a lot of things we use to comfort ourselves throughout the day, and the reason it's so significant, from what I've experienced, but very difficult to get rid of these things, is because just for moments at a time at first, you don't just get rid of them from one day to another. I'm still working on experiencing these kinds of things myself. So the reason it's so significant to get rid of things that comfort you is because then you get stuck. You kind of get stuck in the same kind of routine day after day, and then weeks and months and years go by, and it gives you no good reason to improve yourself, because you're stuck in these ways day after day of being comfortable. So for example, when I started going on healthy diets, at first I would just go for like 1 week or 2 weeks or 30 days, for example. And what that would do is that would make me aware that food made me happy. But that's kind of sad to some extent, because it would be like something was missing in my day, even though I would still eat. But I would eat healthy foods, for example. And so it was almost like, also when I wouldn't drink or smoke, or it was almost like it made me very aware that, for example, I was bored, man. If I didn't drink, or if I didn't eat, if I didn't watch TV, if I didn't so it made me realize that I was really bored and I had nothing to do. Or I realized how little I was doing with my days. So then I also realized that how comforting these things were to me, because being bored made me very anxious. I felt like I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have nothing to do. Anyways, I started doing that about probably like 2 to 3 years ago, and it was really hard at first. And I recommend it. Start getting rid of things that are less productive, even if it's just for like 2 or 3 days at a time, and then see how that makes you feel. And a great place to start is with your diet. So you can realize how uncomfortable you get when you don't allow yourself to eat whatever you want. And it has nothing to do with that you're hungry, because you're gonna be eating food. You're gonna realize that you're just using food to comfort yourself. It's kind of like something that makes you feel better, and it helps you ignore like boring or unproductive parts of your life. You know, you're just kind of not doing nothing. So eating, it gives you something to do, or smoking or drinking or other shit like watching TV, or, you know, doing things that are not productive. They kind of just give you something to do so that you don't just feel bored or shitty. They kind of distract you from how little you're doing with your life. That's from my opinion. Anyways, eventually I started getting tired of this kind of shit, because I started to wonder why I couldn't have a nice day without these kinds of things in my life. For example, I was pretty much lost. You know, that if I wasn't working, then what I was doing usually was watching TV or on my phone, or eating junk food or comfort food, or smoking or drinking. That was a lot of what I was doing if I wasn't working, for like to pass the time. And then when I was alone, I felt really bored or lonely. And so anyways, it was a really good thing for me to allow myself to be uncomfortable. And I started to do that a few years ago. And then I would do it for 2 or 3 days where I wouldn't let myself do anything, like old habits basically. And then I would fall back into old habits. But the significance is that I started, and then I got tired of things having so much control over me, like food, for example. And I started to get better at it. And like I said, it's not easy, and I enjoy simple pleasures, for lack of a better word or way to put it. But taking those simple pleasures away from your life, it really helps you start paying attention to your life in a different way, and you start realizing how little you're actually doing with your life. And you also start realizing maybe what you want to do with your life, and you start realizing a little bit more about what kinds of things you're interested, or you at least start thinking about it, because we're always distracting ourselves, just filling up our days with a lot of unproductive shit, it seems. Yeah, that's just from my opinion, and I've been practicing that for a couple of years now, probably more than a couple of years, and I recommend it. Just every once in a while, push yourself through uncomfortable shit, and let yourself feel bored, let yourself feel anxious, let yourself feel lonely, let yourself feel whatever you feel. They're not always great feelings, but let yourself feel it. And a diet, getting rid of comfort foods, is a great place to start, because it's really, really strong, and you really feel how much you depend on food to feel happy or comfortable. And that's kind of sad to some extent. You start realizing that it starts making you want better things for your life. But there's other ways to do that. Being alone, just being alone. Take some days and be alone. Don't go looking for things to comfort yourself. Just be completely alone, and sober, for lack of a better way to put it. You know, don't use food to comfort yourself. Don't use any habit that you use You know, let go of all this, like, don't watch TV. Basically, if it's not productive, don't do it, and let yourself feel bored and let yourself feel shitty. And then you start realizing how little shit you're doing with your life, and then that starts making you want to change it. That's from my experience. I believe that's one fair way to put it, and I encourage it. And just wanted to share a little bit about that for now, guys. I hope you're having a great day. I hope that somehow helps to some extent. And like I said, that's kind of where I started. I just started to go like 2 or 3 days where I would eat healthy, and I wouldn't allow myself to drink or smoke, or I wouldn't allow myself to do anything that was not productive. And then I would feel really bored, and I would feel really lonely, and I would feel really anxious. And then I started to learn a lot from that, and I recommend it. And I started to do that a while ago, and I encourage people to do it. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.